I was going to say maybe start off with KnobCon while that's fresh in our brain.
Yeah. Good call, yeah.
Good old KnobCon.
But I totally agree.
Jack off to the future.
Jacking house.
That was, what, the fifth KnobCon, I think, total, and the third for you and me, and the second for you.
Yeah.
It was in a different hotel that did not like loud noises.
No, that was unfortunate.
But do you get the impression they just didn't know what they were getting into? That the hotel was just not prepared for...
Since we missed out on the first two, I don't know, but I heard from someone else that was the original location.
Oh.
So I would think they knew what they were getting into, but maybe not. I don't know. Because the music got cut off, and the one new thing that I really liked about it, which was the bug out room, got completely shut down.
Yeah.
Throughout half of the day on Saturday.
Yeah.
Which was unfortunate, and wasn't open at all at night. Which I guess if anyone who wasn't there, it doesn't know what the hell the bug out room was. It was where anyone could bring in their gear and set up and just jam at any point throughout the day. But the hotel staff shut her down.
I wonder if the hotel got a little confused because they may have been presented as like, oh, there's going to be a lot of manufacturers, and maybe they thought it was going to be drier than that, like, you know, the sort of
just you'll have conferences and like talks in here all day.
Yeah, exactly.
Flipping real estate.
Yeah. Which we should have just skipped KnobCon and just gone straight to the flipper. Was that? Am I using the term right?
Probably
flipper?
A better fiscal decision.
Really?
Than spending hundreds of dollars on modules.
That's fair enough, yeah. Although,
but probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah,
I wonder if that guy was just randomly saying shit.
Those people are probably crying in dumpsters right now. Everybody that attended,
trying to follow his advice, and just none of this is working.
No.
I don't think this was real.
There was a financial services like flipping houses conferences at KnobCon too. Next to KnobCon.
Yeah, let's be fair, it was not part of KnobCon.
Yeah.
Although they seemed intrigued.
Oh, really?
By the room of noise next to them. Trying to give a conference.
We were saying too that there should be like a way to swap modules or like a list. Weren't we talking about that?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Even just the idea of just having like an area of like, especially using something like Muffs or Facebook or some other technology to just be like, I'm here. This is stuff I have. Come meet me here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested in trades. I'm interested in this. I think that would have gone over really well because it did seem like there was a ton of people with like their setups, brought their stuff out, and even just, you know, I know Greg was swapping things out
right
at the con. Really take advantage of everyone just being like fired up for like, I want this, oh, but I need this other module, and someone else is sitting in a hotel room 3 doors down wanting to get rid of that exact module. It's just it's a missed opportunity.
Yeah, the year before, I met a couple people up for some sales that I made on the muff board, and they were like, you know, are you going to KnobCon? I'm like, yeah. So they're like, well, I'll save you on shipping. I'll just meet you there. And that worked out cool. And yeah, it would definitely make sense to have like an area for people trading or selling just for that purpose. But yeah, anything like a swap meet type of, you know, would make sense in the future for sure.
outside the one room being totally off on its own and kind of difficult to get to, purely because I'm lazy and I don't want to walk. It seemed like everything was laid out somewhat sensibly. Like, there's a ton of stuff, and it seems like it's getting bigger, way bigger than it was last year.
Yeah, I can't really gauge if it was bigger, but it definitely felt more spaced out.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely less claustrophobic. You didn't have to like elbow through people to get to a table to check out what you wanted to check out. Last year, it definitely felt cramped in the main room because they only had, there was the one main room and then there was the quiet room, which not too many people utilized last year. This year, there was definitely more of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look what he's doing.
Yeah, just hanging out.
Improvising.
He's our honored guest this time, Gene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I totally agree with the idea of something that's going later. Even if we had to turn it down a little bit, I still think it would have been. There's a lot of people that obviously wanted to hang out longer than that, and yeah.
You could make the argument like, oh, just stay in your room and use headphones and be quiet until whenever you want. But if they're going to have that conference room, like, they should let people sit there until whenever. It's not like it was the rowdiest crowd.
No. And it was, it's not like we needed, full, a lot of attention. Just leave the power on. We don't even need lights. There wasn't even lights on the ones that were there.
Those are some polite motherfuckers.
Yeah, the year before they went, that was at least till 1 a.m. I felt like in the main performance room.
Yeah.
And no complaints.
Yeah.
Didn't get shut down. It was
No signs in the hallway.
telling you to not make noise like it's a library. But yeah.
Now, as far as stuff you saw, I feel like there was a lot of great stuff to actually check out, and it was like on display there. And this was like the first time, a lot of time for a lot of stuff, being able to get our filthy paws on it.
Carbon.
That is as far as like making notes for this, that was the first thing.
Carbon.
That blew my mind.
Yeah.
It basically hits everything that I was looking for out of engine, with CV out of the gate, not having to be an add-on,
Right.
and just the sort of like that weirdly pleasant Kilpatrick style of like grid display. And looking into it the second time I went back and was screwing around with it, and the guy was just giving me like a little, oh, check this out. Everything's just like one or two buttons away. Like it's not divey at all, which I was a little worried that like, because there was a tiny little things at the bottom. It's just like, no, those are just letting you know what's going on in the other seats.
Yeah, which is nice.
Oh, I was like, this is really well thought out.
And it looks like an Atari Lynx,
Yes.
but not really.
See, now I'm pissed that it doesn't. Now I'm believe it.
That would be
Why aren't you an Atari Lynx or TurboGrafx Express?
either or.
Oh shit! Now I've got to yank the guts out of a Carbon and put it into one of those.
And ruin it and ask for support.
Does this void my warranty? Yeah, I didn't get to have too much hands-on time with it. I just had the overview that the guy was doing. But it seemed like the best of the two sequencer modules from Kilpatrick that I have had hands-on experience with. It had some elements of the pattern generator, which was like one of my favorites, and they're just Kilpatrick sequencer. Some of the like generative functions of that seemed to be in the Carbon, which was real nice. It's like a nice gel of the two together.
And the USB host is like brilliant.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And the overview on the screen of everything's pretty nice.
Yeah, that's a nice touch.
What would be the next one though? Probably Varigate.
Yeah. I also, the sort of taking a step outside of the module there, that dude's presentation
Oh yeah,
was
that
amazing.
great.
It was a super in-depth, super like, it was not the brochure level, and I think that that also helped with like, hey, this is there's a lot going on in this module, and I walked up to him and I'm like, oh, that's cool, it's gate sequencer. Like I wasn't super excited. I left fired up for it.
Yeah, that was Ben Davis, the guy responsible for making it. So it was cool to see him, explain his own creation there. I felt like a lot of people at KnobCon just had like a representative there as opposed to like the person behind it. So it's cool to see him pointing out what he felt was the strong points and, give a passionate presentation of everything it was capable of. It was definitely, it's on my to-buy list for sure. I really enjoyed the Varigate 4. This really like expands on it. I mean, it's not only just more tracks, but just more functionality overall. You get 4 additional 16-step tracks now of probabilistic gates, plus 2 CV tracks that you can assign to any of those tracks, or have like free floating, I believe. Like if you don't want it hard paired with a gate track, it can just be its own thing. So it's got all the randomized functions, saving. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to think of anything bad about it. You know, it's just like for the cost and for the size, like there's nothing like it really.
Especially for not having a screen of any type, really. Like you can't do too much more without having some reference point like that. So it seems like a nice mix.
Even without a screen too, it doesn't seem at all like menu divey.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There's a couple combos you got to do, you know, hold 2 things at once, but everything's laid out on the module panel itself, you know, saying what slider does what when you're holding
like I kind of miss my Turing machine, and I think that would make me a lot less sad about it.
Yeah, definitely.
That is definitely the one thing, probably the top of my list of the thing I regret not getting rid of. I didn't realize just how much I was using it. And now, but the Varigate actually would be a pretty, actually, I mean, it would be an amazing replacement for it.
Yeah, totally, especially with the quantization
Yeah.
on board and everything. It's pretty dope. How many times am I going to say dope?
Is there an ETA for the Varigate? Is it like
I think
soon?
this week.
Oh, that's real soon.
Yeah, I was talking to Ben on Facebook. He said he, I think, just got his production version of it, and the first batch is going out from Dark Place, I think, this week.
Oh, wow.
So-
For our listeners, what is actually today's date? As we reference things like next week.
October 1st.
There we go.
Hey,
On the ball there, Craig.
Yeah.
Nicely done.
the first day of the month.
I knew it was.
Wake up.
Yeah,
up.
that's yeah. Both dogs immediately. Didn't take long.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of stuff dropping right now,
Yeah,
like early October.
just got the new engine OS. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just loaded it on before I came over here, which is like ratcheting per step now, like repeats per step, and like probability sequences and other like fixes to make it a lot easier to use. Don't have to delete every pattern like manually now if you want to clear stuff. So yeah, and it fixes the CV bug thing that I ran into. So I gotta check that out.
How easy is it to update? Is it?
Yeah, it's USB cable,
Oh,
and
nice.
like it just uses the Teensy app. So you just load the hex file, and once it connects, it just uploads it.
Is that a keeper for you?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I'll be straight up. Like it's really good, and I like where he's going with it. I don't know.
I remember
It's-
it's kind of on the fence. Was wondering if the new
Yeah,
stuff.
I thought the Carbon was like.
Yeah.
I thought the Carbon was gonna get me there for a second, and I did almost get a used one, but I was like, I don't want to learn anything new right now. That's not a good reason, but I just don't want to.
Do you have the CV expansion for the engine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I found that bug in it, so
Yeah,
that's supposedly
that's right.
fixed now. Even though I deleted that pattern and like I can't even recreate it anymore.
So you're not able to actually test.
I guess I could. It was like the lowest note possible. That was out of the range of like below a C0,
Yeah.
because you can do that with the transpose. Do like a C0, but then transpose it down. I think you can do that, and that like crashed it because it didn't know how to handle that range.
Does it just drop it to C0, or does it actually go?
I think now it would probably I would hope it would just drop it to C0 or something. But yeah, it's awesome. But I don't know. I'm fickle with sequencers, and the MIDI box is kind of just ruling that whole area for me right now. But it has like 8 CV gate pairs, so that's kind of hard to be mad at too. Because the MIDI box, I have to go through my Kilpatrick MIDI converter, which is sweet, but not 8 MIDI to CV, 8 pairs of MIDI CV gate.
Also, the MIDI box is enormous. That is definitely for home.
Yeah, well, I if I would do like a techno live thing, I would probably bring it out because I do all the work like in there for the sequences and that. But yeah, I don't. It scares me to bring it out too. It's definitely very DIY, but it's robust. Like it'll hold up to it, but I don't know. It's like It's DIY, you know? Which is kind of why I have the engine too, just like as a backup, but that's really paranoid. But I just want to be able to work if it fucks up, which did happen with one release. But then the next release, he fixed everything that was like corrupting my files. So I don't know.
I saw the, so for our listeners, Nick is playing on, is it Wednesday?
Oh yeah, this Wednesday at the Pittsburgh modular thing, the 5th.
It's the 5th.
Yeah.
I don't actually know if this is even to be out by then, but if it is, someone should check it out.
Jump
but
through the internet and go to Pittsburgh.
Exactly, yeah. And if you're also our listeners, this is being recorded in Pittsburgh, which I don't even know. We haven't established anything.
No.
Like, there's no baseline
Do that later.
for what we're doing, who we are, where we're at, time and place.
'Cause we don't really know ourselves.
No, I didn't know what date it was. So.
Yeah, it's like a flash mob podcast.
Surprise, we're podcasting, bitch.
But I noticed that the engine wasn't on your setup.
No,
Why is that?
I thought it was going to be at first, and then I don't know. I didn't want to bring like a terrible amount of things, and honestly, I've never used it live, and I've never used it with the lights off.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a lot of shit on there. It's very menu divey. You have to know what you're doing, kind of. And the Octatrack, the MIDI stuff that I'm doing to sequence the modular like that, I could be pretty drunk and still use that. Not that I'm going to be drunk at the show, but I know how to use it.
But you will be drunk at the show.
Probably. No, I hope not.
I will.
Yes, I will be. And I decided to, unlike previous sets, that I would come up with a setup and then I would stop fucking with that setup because I only had a week to do something to. So I wanted to change it really badly this morning. And I didn't let myself.
It's a bad habit I get
It's a
into.
terrible habit. Terrible. Don't do what I do.
We'll do it live.
Yeah, this will be live. I'm trying to set up kits on things that I can play. I have like a little bit of fallback, but I really kind of want to just like, I'm actually going to play this stuff and not really try to play some shit that I made with it.
You mean on the Octa?
Yeah, on the Octa, the rhythm, and like the modular.
Okay.
Like the modular, I'll kind of switch sequences and then like braids, patches, and then the Basimilus Iteritas alter will be like doing drum stuff simultaneously going into the Octatrack, and I'll just kind of play with that. And that seems to be working out so far in practice. Like this is all based on what the practices have been like.
Speaking of that drum module, which again was something
It's fucking amazing.
Yeah, another KnobCon sort of discovery.
Oh yeah. Full like drum synth in a module with envelopes. Crazy variations. Sequencing the modes now is like ridiculous from a sound design and like making a track perspective. Like fucking amazing. Yeah, because I think you kind of get like a drum module and you know right away. Like you see the expiration date for that module and you get it. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna use this, but it's either gonna hit forever or it's gonna get really annoying at some point and I'm gonna sell it.
Yeah.
But that thing, I doubt I'll run out of steam with that. It just seems, especially everything has CV input, so it's like fucking.
Yeah,
you can
like,
you can get endless just triggering the thing, but then you start to throw CV at everything. It's
right.
Like,
It's
get
like
out
endless sweet spots.
Yeah. Right.
Which is not common for most drum
No.
modules. Most of them you find like your one spot, maybe a couple more, and you think to yourself, okay, I could probably just sample this and be done with it.
Right.
This thing, it definitely begs to be like used with control voltages in real time. You know,
Yeah,
totally. It's, I think, really well thought out. Like I owned the original for a while, and it had its moments, you know, but like this just takes it to a whole nother level. Being able to CV the modes and the range, and the fact that he added, you know, a new mode in there. I can't remember offhand what that is. It's
the liquid skin and
liquid
metal
mode.
Liquid's the new one.
And also the alto mode, which is great for like the kick range. So you can do bass, kick, and then like just all out high end screechiness with this thing.
Yeah. It's an evil bass machine for sure.
I mean, can you get like other type of percussion? Can you make a nice snare? Can you make a nice
Absolutely.
bomb? Like, is it so? Actually, just having a rack of five or six of those would be.
Because the thing, like, when you get it, if you don't turn up the decay, you'll think like, why is that fucking noise playing all the time? Because it's that noise is blended in there unless you turn the attack up. Sorry, the attack. And and then it kind of goes away and you just hear the oscillator sound. But if you turn that attack down and it's layering that noise on top of it, that's also kind of tracking the pitch. I think that's how it's working.
Yeah, going clockwise from 0 to 12, you're doing a type of noise blend on the attack knob, and then everything after 12,
Exactly.
it's like real attack on the oscillators. And even the morph is thought out well. Like it'll take you from sine through all the other wave shapes, and then if you go all the way clockwise, you're back to sine. So if you're hitting that with CV, you get smooth blending all the way through. It's pretty well thought out.
Yeah. Yeah, because even I think in the different modes, it changes what it morphs through, like which waveforms. Because the spread, I think, kind of moves it like it's 1 to 6 oscillators, and it's all modal. So like a bunch of different things change when you change like morph depending upon the mode. Like it's all kind of tweaked and tuned. I hope more people go in that way, where it's like modal stuff that kind of does a lot of things behind the scenes, because a lot of the analog stuff is kind of done.
This is the shit you want out of a digital module.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna bother to go that route, go this route. You know? It's
Yeah.
like-
I don't really want a digital Moog filter emulation. That
Exactly.
would not be very interesting in any way to me.
he does a great job with the manual too. Like
Yeah.
very well written. Goes talks about the inspiration behind it and all that, which it's cool to get the manufacturer's take on what the hell's going on behind it.
Same with the Locaric or Localic.
Yeah, we all ended up coming out of there with a noise engineering module.
Yeah.
We each got one of the alters, and you got the however the hell you pronounce it.
Locaric something. Or
Yeah, I forget the.
But the manual for that is it's astounding. I mean, it has like the actual like math, like the sigmas and the calculus for each of the different modes.
Oh, wow.
I mean, and yeah, they also included references to the research papers that they were looking at, the white papers or
Yeah.
the books that they were reading. I was like, this is, I don't know. I've
Yeah,
so far been nothing but impressed with noise engineering.
Yeah,
Agreed.
I didn't know what the hell he was talking about there, but I appreciated that it was in there. I was like, okay. No, and he's even gone in interviews saying like he was really inspired by Autechre and early industrial and things like that. And I think it really shows in the stuff that he's putting out right now. It's most of it is digital, and it's the good side of digital.
Totally agreed. Yeah.
There's one Surgeon record that came out. There's a track that starts with A. So every time I plug my iPod in or phone into the car, it like plays the first alphabetical track no matter what, because fucking Apple, right? And it's always like this kick drum sound that I know now. After I got that module, I'm like, oh yeah, that's the fucking Basimilus. Like no question, that kick drum was made from that thing. Like the way it aliases and the way he shifts the alias frequencies depending upon the mode stuff to like, so you can hear it. So it's not just always in the high range like aliasing. That was fucking brilliant.
Yeah, my first run with it when I owned the version 1, not the alter, I mainly got it for that type of like metallic, percussion, FM wave folding nastiness, and it did that well, but I kind of got bored with it and I ended up selling it. And like this version can do that and be a great kick or be great synth all in one. So I think you really took it to the next level, and makes me want to own more than one at some point.
Yeah, I saw he's got like another one in the works, like another modal digital type thing that like I guess he just moved his facility or whatever to some other place.
He's got a lot of logic based things going on. 2 modules I think were inspired by Aaron of Venetian Snares. Both I think gate modules, gate generators, logic rhythmic generators, I guess you could call them. Didn't get a chance to play with any of those at KnobCon, but it's the type of thing that I would really like to get some hands on, just to wrap my head around what they actually do first. But
he named one after Derek too, like the
that's the manual one.
Yeah.
You punch everything in, finger triggered gates.
They weren't actually at KnobCon, right? I mean, there was just a couple of people that had the modules, but there was no presence.
Right.
No.
Which was unfortunate.
It really
I would have
was.
loved to have played with a whole rack of noise engineering stuff.
Oh, I
Be
would
a
actually
good interview.
Yeah. Also, I just want to get drunk with that and just hang out and just that seems like a really good time.
Talk about IDM and industrial.
So what's next? What's next in the queue? Do we still want to talk about KnobCon things?
Yeah, I think there's a lot we could.
I think so.
Hook on.
I mean, we barely really scratch the surface on KnobCon.
Yeah, KnobCon.
I mean, I guess the other thing is like, what's we're talking about some of the highlights. Like, it's only fair to talk about some of
The negatives.
Yeah, what was something that maybe was disappointing or surprising?
I don't want to hate too much, but it would be cool to see musical acts that were more like working a modular type thing.
Yeah.
I didn't get to see that as much.
You're talking about the Saturday night.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Saturday night acts.
Yeah.
I did not see Friday night acts, so
Full
maybe I
disclosure.
missed out.
Yeah, full disclosure. None of us went to the banquet. Is that what it is?
No.
We're not banquet attendees. I don't think they have a vegetarian dish.
That's
That's my
one.
like a
Yeah.
surface excuse, but I don't like to go to things like that.
It's kind of pricey, especially if there's nothing on the menu for you, in my opinion. But
Ooh, that one's good.
Burning River.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've had this before.
it's Great Lakes. Fantastic brewery. Love.
yeah, I think that was one of my top complaints, though.
Yeah, Nosferatu.
What's Nosferatu?
Nosferatu, the beer.
I don't think so. Is
Okay,
it good?
I'm totally interrupting you just so I can ask Nick if he had a beer.
I don't think I had that beer.
You should check it out. It's really good. Okay, Greg, what were you saying?
No, I was just to say, like, the banquet. That was the third time I've been there, and the third time I had opted out of the banquet just because it's expensive, and there's only like one special guest that, while I have respect for, was not really in the feeling spending like $50 to hear her speak.
Yeah.
Like that kind of ties in with my other complaints. There's a lot of focus there on, Moog.
Yeah.
And I guess if you want to call it East Coast, synthesis. And I would like to see just as much focus, on more experimental, speakers.
Yeah.
And just maybe live acts. It doesn't have to be performances, but anything that is related to things on, the other side of the scale. Like one of the guests I would have loved to have seen would have been, what's his name? Nick Gordon, the guy who just did the Doom soundtrack.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like he's going crazy with.
Yeah.
He's been posting videos on YouTube that are like not necessarily music videos or anything to the soundtrack of Doom, but just him going crazy in the studio. Lots of modular gear, lots of even vintage gear. He has a Polyvox in there, shit ton of pedals. You know what I mean? Like everything that has a tube in it, whether it's a pedal or a module, he seems to have. It would have been really cool to hear someone like that, just speak about their creative process. It's a very mixed crowd there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people there who are obviously like, old school, and there's a lot of people there who are showing up wearing, skinny puppy shirts and shit like that. And it's like, so
Skinny Pablo.
and Skinny Pablo,
was there.
Too Dark Taco. So, you gotta. I think KnobCon is finding itself in a unique position now because there's nothing else like it, that is that accessible. It's in the middle of the country. A lot of people are coming from all over. Like ourselves. We drove 8 hours to get there.
Right.
And
It's not industry centric. It's not.
right.
Yeah, that
it's
is
not NAMM.
Yeah.
Props to it for that.
Yes.
Although it did seem like a little heavier with that this time. You know what I mean? Like it was
Yeah.
more manufacturer friendly, which is cool, but I don't
But
know.
without sacrificing something.
Right.
Like it was still, we could still go get a ton out of it.
Yeah.
It seemed like it was it is a cool,
Yeah.
wide spectrum.
Exactly. I feel like the crowd is, a wide spectrum, but the event itself kind of isn't catering to that. And I feel like it can be now.
Yeah.
It's gotten to the size and scale that it can definitely do both. Mix old school with new school presentations and performances. And, I don't think anyone's going to feel slighted if they do. There's enough people there from both sides of the spectrum.
Yeah. And I think too, like that plays to like go later, like do things until 2 a.m.
Yeah,
Sure.
totally. Yeah.
Because
That would be-
again, there's people coming from all over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, you're in the middle of an industrial park. It hits 9 o'clock. What are you gonna do?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, now you just have a bunch of drunken nerds stuck in a hotel bar.
Yeah.
You gotta have something to do.
It makes me
you know?
feel like I'm in the suburbs again. Like I'm going to do something bad.
You just want to start breaking shit. You know? Just go throw rocks at cars or something.
Props to a
Mow
modular
or whatever.
addict for
Yeah.
having that
Yeah.
DIY setup where you could buy stuff. Like kits being able to be purchased, that was good.
It's
Synth
it's
Cube, yeah.
It's quite the tease to buy new gear and then not be able to play with it until you get home. 3 days later. Like, you have a room where people can just go and jam out with their new toys. Whatever setup they brought. I think that was a good concept. It just wasn't executed well enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. So speaking of the DIY room and the sort of like builder setup they had.
Oh yeah,
Nick,
that
you
was
had
awesome.
experience. Yeah, you had.
Yeah, no, I built the Menkey DPLPG dual passive low pass gate, and that was awesome. Cool thing was seeing some dad like teach a 7-year-old daughter to like, solder a module, and
That's
like
awesome.
that's pretty sweet. But yeah, more of that. Like the DIY thing was totally cool. I just ended up talking to a bunch of people while I was making the module. They fucked up your kit, so
Yeah.
you couldn't get there, but they were totally cool about it too. Like that
Yeah.
modular addict dude was. Props to him.
His refund to me, the note for it just said, "I'm a dick." I was like, dude, that was nice.
Well, he oversold it, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the
It was just
DIY
a-
room was so popular that they
Yeah.
actually oversold their kits,
And we were
which is
like
cool.
half hour, 40 minutes late. So I mean, there
Yeah,
was a good
no,
chance
we
he
totally were.
Just didn't think we were coming.
Yeah, especially the DIY thing. It's like a crazy sweet spot that many people don't know now. Especially now with like even 5 years ago, there weren't as many. There were a fraction of the amount of kits you
Yeah.
could get for everything.
Yeah.
Like
And even the kids
that through whole clouds. Like I was laughing. Like, that THC module. Ha ha ha. Well, it's like through whole clouds module. That's like half the cost, and it's
Yeah.
like that's fucking awesome.
And also, I mean, they are making kits, not full kits, so you don't have to necessarily source them like
Yeah.
you used to.
A lot of it seemed geared to like introductory,
Yeah.
not only DIY but
Yeah.
modular in general.
Yes.
And there were people there who didn't even have a modular
Right.
yet. Like the one guy I was talking to was outside the room said like, he just stumbled upon KnobCon in an advertisement. It's not something that he was like planning to come to, and he read that they had like DIY stuff, and he hadn't picked up a soldering iron in like a decade, and he said fuck it, and he came and he soldered some shit. It's like that's pretty cool.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Because it's not that hard at the end of the day. If you can build an piece of IKEA furniture, you can solder something too.
Yes.
And it's not that hard.
No, but it has a reputation of being this very difficult thing. It's very like error prone thing, and no.
Yeah, I find it completely relaxing now,
Oh,
except
yeah.
when I fuck up.
But okay, so we've touched on some of the stuff we didn't like about KnobCon overall. We've talked about the DIY room. Let's talk about some of the reveals, I guess, that we encountered there, because we haven't touched
yeah.
upon that. There was a lot.
There were some
Yeah.
big name ones. I mean,
Yeah.
like for me, the two big ones was the MatrixBrute
Yes, the
and
MatrixBrute
the 909.
and the
Oh,
909.
yeah.
Yeah, those were the
old
two big
stuff.
things that I was like.
Well, it wasn't
fire.
just the 909. Like,
Yeah.
The vocoder VP03.
Yeah,
and
they had the
TB03.
yeah,
The TB, yeah.
the 303 and the 909,
But is
not
it-
all at once.
But as a Gabber enthusiast, the 909
The most
was
important.
That was the most
Yes,
important thing.
the
to me,
909.
Just one time.
The Gabber kick. Original.
The MatrixBrute. I was glad that we were there early to get like a quiet
Yeah.
1-on-1 or 1-on-3.
There's some brilliant things about it. The mod
was-
matrix, very smart.
It's enormous in real life.
Yeah, it's huge.
It is. That was sort of the first. Like my first impression was, this is way bigger than I thought it was going to be. I knew it was going to be a big thing, but this is.
It gave me anxiety a little.
Yes, yes.
It's like, no, like I like don't want to own shit like that, you know?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to, I don't know.
Restructure your whole studio around
Yeah.
this
Exactly.
beast of a machine.
Yeah.
But it was impressive sound-wise and just functionality. Like
Totally.
everything worked that the guy was showing us. It worked well. And everything's up front. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Like,
yeah.
I like that. There's no menu. You got the giant matrix for everything, and you can save that,
Yeah.
which is interesting.
Yeah.
Desktop version though.
Oh,
They
definitely.
should make a desktop version.
Or
I'm still waiting for a desktop mini brute.
Yeah.
I would love to have a desktop
Seriously.
version of that without having to chop one up. you know?
Some of us don't give a shit about keys.
Yeah.
Or have a keyboard. There's something that lets us put notes in.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the SE version of the MiniBrute kind of had that, but it still required use of the keyboard.
Right.
It replaced the arpeggiator. I never understood the logic behind the MiniBrute. You know what I mean? I thought the MicroBrute I never understood. The MiniBrute I thought was pretty good, and they released the second edition, which just had like the sequencer and different colors, and then they released the Micro, which had some different functions, but it was just smaller. I'm like, why go that route?
Yeah, and they combined the
mini
envelope and the
keys.
VCA sliders too.
Yeah.
Where they had them separate on the MiniBrute, and that would seem to be like better.
I mean, it's not like the Mini was big to begin with.
Right,
You know?
it's
So
got
it's
a
like,
big keyboard.
just release a MiniBrute version 2 with
Yeah.
these new features, and don't shrink the keyboard to, tiny finger size. And just have it be like a desktop version and a version with the keys. If people really wanted a compact version, then just don't offer it with keys. I don't know.
It's another KnobCon feedback is like, don't make shit too small.
I love the 909. I loved it.
You like the little knobs?
I hated the little knobs.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
I've
It's
got
so close
just,
together.
Oh, these sausages I call fingers are just this is terrible. This is so adorable. This is such
Yeah,
a
it's so cute.
It is like as an artifact, as a physical product, it is a very well designed. I can't use it. I will never be able to use that thing. It is just all of those tiny little knobs and
You're
buttons.
pinching little
Totally.
things.
Yeah.
You don't feel like you're shifting gears and turning knobs. You just feel like you're pinching this little thing, like beep. I don't know. Not a fan either.
That was my first sort of disappointment.
I can see that being acceptable for someone who's like coming strictly from software.
Yeah.
And they're
yeah.
I got these tiny knobs now. This is cool. But someone who comes from like modular, you know what I mean? Where you're used to turning knobs, plugging things in, having, tactile feedback with your gear, like the tiny little knobs just don't really cut it,
No.
For me with the Pittsburgh modular filter with that giant cutoff knob in the middle there, it's kind of seemed like a gimmick when I first got it. But now I really do appreciate the fact that thing is, you can really dial in.
Because the TR8 is a green and black monstrosity 909 with 808 and 606 and 707.
Which is confusing. Like when that was the first question I had looking at the TR9 was, why isn't this like that?
Yeah.
That thing's big.
Yeah.
It's colorful. It's I don't know, meant to appeal to DJs, and I guess I don't know, but even with the whole disco light thing going on, you at least got some big buttons, some big knobs, some sliders. It feels like a machine. It doesn't feel like a little toy.
Exactly. It's visually very trying to me at times, but I could throw it down the stairs and be drunk and still be holding on to it, like using it in a set. Because it's meant to be like beat on.
Yeah.
I like that.
But I mean, to be fair, that the Tiny 909 is a metal case. It is built like a little tank. I mean,
it's
solid.
It's a solid construction, and all of the stuff that they've been doing the last couple of years, I do, like you said, you can throw this down the stairs, pick it back up.
But do they make it for like a human to use it?
Yes.
No. It should be playable first and
exactly.
foremost.
Yeah.
Like outside of it looking awesome in Illustrator when you're done with the layout.
Playable and able to use in a performance without a pair of tweezers
Yes.
to turn the goddamn knobs. The sound was good too.
Yeah, it sounded good.
Tiny
Sounded
knobs
good.
aside, it sounded good, but it offered nothing new.
That was my
Over the original.
That was
It does have compression like per voice
Did
or
it?
something. It's like hidden in there.
I missed that.
It has
Okay.
because the TB3 has reverb too, but it's like hidden in it.
But it also has that overdrive and the delay
Yeah.
on the panel, which is cool. And I'm like, why the fuck isn't this on the 909? Like,
Because this is the scary part is it's like a pretty visual thing that seems like it's meant to be hooked up over USB. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you get the individual outs there, and is it going to be like the future of like having the iconic like thing that's hooked up with a digital connection is maybe not the best one.
It's not as exciting.
No.
Because once you've hooked it back up to your computer, well, at that point, just go get any of the other 909 emulations that are available in software.
It's an artifact.
Yeah, I walked away a little disappointed. You know, like a couple years ago, I would have been, excited as shit to hear about a new, 909 that was, I don't know, close to the original.
I mean, even when I first heard about this, I was still pretty excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. I ended up playing with the TR8 more, the thing I already have, because it's just like, it's more playable.
Yeah.
And then the
More to
303
do
is
with
just
it.
Yeah.
Even the TB3 I like the most. I'm always in the alternate waveforms, not the 303 ones. Because even a few years ago, I was like, what do I really have to say with the 303?
Yeah.
And I do, it's cool. I like it, but it's not super exciting. If I had a real 303, I'd sell it. And get a TB3 and something else.
And
with
something
money.
else, yeah.
Or an Avalon or something.
Yeah, or an
Oh,
Avalon,
yeah.
exactly. Something like that. Or
There was no Avalon at KnobCon, right?
There was.
Was it out on a table? Because I didn't see
Towards
it.
the end, somebody had one, but we didn't get a chance to play with it.
That's disappointing. I really want to
think,
check it
yeah,
out.
it looks awesome.
Or no, they were selling it at Foxtown. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, someone bought one.
Yeah,
we saw it in
we
the
saw
box
him carrying
or
it
something.
around.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
But yeah, I don't think there were any on the table to play with anywhere. Aside from the MatrixBrute, there was also the Behringer
Yes.
DeepMind.
Deep mind.
That had for better or worse, a line in front of it.
Yeah.
The entire weekend. I
I
mean,
don't
obviously,
think any
people,
of us got near it, actually.
No.
I heard a bunch of it. I would stand there in line, listen to someone toy around with it, and got you heard the person who was manning the booth or running the booth talking about it. But there wasn't anything that was surprising.
Yeah. It sounded like a polysynth.
It did. It sounded fine.
Yeah.
That was nothing was astounding. Nothing was blowing my mind. But it didn't sound like shit.
Right.
It's like, no, that's a good
Thousand-
sense.
thousand
It's
in the
tiny
market.
too, kind of.
Yeah,
Really
yeah.
shallow. They'll probably sell quite a few of them.
It is Behringer. They make crap. Is this? Are you buying something that's just going to be a problem? Is no matter how even if it sounded amazing, how much is that? Ooh, that's Behringer.
Yeah.
I don't want to
They've
get.
got a history to get over.
Yeah,
but
they do.
that Midas mixer that I have that they made is fucking amazing.
Oh really?
Yeah.
And
So far, year and some change in.
On the road too. I mean, you've taken it out.
No, it's huge. It'll never leave that rack.
Right,
That's
yeah.
in my room.
But in any case, I mean, it sounded fine. I wasn't blown away, but I wasn't disappointed either.
Yeah, I think the MatrixBrute kind of, as far as big synths go,
Yeah.
Yeah.
stole the show.
Yeah,
which
definitely.
It was located directly across from it, so that had my attention more.
One theme from this year's KnobCon too was tiny little screens.
Yeah.
That's definitely Eurorack, tiny little screens.
Yeah.
More of that.
I feel like technology has finally reached a point where it's, feasible
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
implement
yeah.
tiny little
The new
screens. in a
TNC
module,
being
yeah.
ridiculously powerful, the new super cheap ARM processors. That seems like it's going to keep innovation going and making things cheaper too, which
Yes.
is awesome.
Cheaper, and also, I mean, cool. You got X and Y. In a couple of months, Z is going to come out, and to have this thing that and you're not starting from scratch. You're not getting something new. You're not you can take advantage of all of the things you've learned. You spent all this time with a piece of gear, and someone's adding new shit to it. You can now take advantage of that, and you're moving in lockstep with someone else who's making the platform more interesting.
Yeah, like Neutron Sound Orgone,
Yes.
perfect example.
Yes,
we could do a whole episode on that module, which I
Exactly.
still find new things on. 2 nights ago, I was like, damn it, this thing's amazing.
And even the Neutron's a good example too, because the latest version, I tried it out and I didn't like it, and I went back, and I'm like, okay, cool, that's not where I want to go. I still have that choice. I can be like, this is the spot that I think is that you nailed it.
See, I used to be. Now I'm all in the latest version. I'm like, oh, I get
Okay.
it now, and I like the But yeah, it was the same way. It's nice that you can just pull on that, pull on the Git repo.
Yeah,
and
yeah. It's. I
having
mean,
new capabilities for a module.
exactly. It's a GitHub. There's a GitHub repo for it. I'm a huge fan of that.
Yeah, same here.
Like all my mutable stuff, pretty much, I'm running the alternative firmwares on.
Yeah,
and
same.
Oh, you got the Parasite.
Except for
Yeah.
braids.
Yeah.
I think there's an alternate for braids, right?
Yes.
I'm not running that.
I tried it wasn't too into it.
That's
Went
it.
back to the factory.
What didn't you like about it?
It was a minute ago. I think it's just because I use Braids so much that I kind of know everything secondhand. And loading on some firmware that switched that up, even if it added some functionality, was throwing me off my game.
Yeah,
and I
right,
just didn't feel like adapting to it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I feel like Braids as it is factory is pretty solid.
Yeah.
You know, like just it's. I utilize every mode within that thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All the you can get it lo-fi, the drift mode, the macro mode, you know, all that shit. Like I can navigate that module with my eyes closed pretty much.
Right,
so
right.
switching it up wasn't really worth it to me. But for everything else, like my clouds and all that stuff, yeah, I definitely run Parasites on there.
And
Like, I'm not at the latest Parasite on my clouds because I
Me
don't want to
either, no.
recalibrate it.
Right.
It seemed like I wasn't super into the new features on the Surface yet.
Indeed, yeah. I read them. I'm like, okay, that's cool, but I'm pretty solid with where it's at right now.
Yeah,
with
same.
I think it's 1.8.
Yeah.
Parasite. I think
so.
we're on. Yeah.
And sort of the opposite of that is, I know, like the audio damage sequencer is sort of the opposite side of that. Is there was a lot of promise, there was a lot of cool stuff that could come out of it, and then it didn't. So out of the box, it was okay, and the idea was like, this is going to be something that's going to be
Sure.
worked on, it's going to be evolving and all this, and when it didn't, it doesn't work necessarily as a platform. It isn't that thing that you're going to follow and you're going to keep up with like the developments, and
Sure.
and you're gonna have input like, hey, it'd be cool if you can do X, Y, and Z, or you can do this. And
For Sequencer 1, it didn't reach my expectations of it, that's for sure. I mean, communication with the auto damage people on Muff Wiggler at first was pretty good. Like, they were asking everybody what features they wanted. I remember I found a couple bugs. A lot of other people found, some small bugs, posted it on the forums, and they like patched it within, weeks, came out with a new firmware.
Okay.
And that was cool. They were fixing things and adding in small things that people were asking for at first, but there was still a lot of things that people, I think, felt like was promised with Sequencer 1 that never came about.
Right.
A lot of that was mostly the generative stuff. I mean, you can do some generative things with it, but the way it was being discussed, it was like, yes, we're going to go this route, and it'll be soon, and then, like, weeks turned into months turned into a year, and it just kind of like, the updates were getting fewer and fewer, farther between.
Yeah.
And still didn't see the level of stuff that I think we all expected from that,
Yeah.
And I don't know. Personally, I sold mine. You know what I mean?
Right,
Eventually,
yeah.
I went with the Stilson Hammer Mark II instead. But I felt like right out of the gate, rather, that kind of had more
promise and delivery.
More promise, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, and I never had that. But for me, the ZDSP from Tip Top was, early on when I first got it, it had incredible promise, and then there was this huge gap where
Oh yeah.
there was nothing really came out, and now there's now a ton of stuff. So it's finally delivering on that promise, but like a lot of that is also not necessarily coming from Tip Top.
Right.
I wonder if Audio Damage would benefit from opening that up, going like, hey, we can only do so much. Other people that are fired up to do this,
Probably never happen.
Yeah,
Because
that's-
their code is their code. Like,
Right.
I think they use the same, platform, I should say, across all their
Yeah.
effects units, and like a lot of that is ported code from their VSTs,
right?
their
yeah.
software, and like that's their bread and butter right
Right,
there.
but like Sean Costello from Valhalla, that's his bread. VSTs were his bread and butter, and then
Sure.
he moved those to ZDSP.
Like the LXR drum machine, they're
Yeah,
like
yeah.
different forks of that whole thing that do
Yeah.
different stuff. I've never even played with some of them that do like different generative stuff. But on the whole, some of those features that other people made it into the main trunk.
Sometimes the best ideas are the simplest.
Exactly.
Like ending this podcast.